Hey, we're back at the American Monetary Reform Conference in Chicago, and we're with Bob Poteat from Onalaska, Washington. If the American Monetary Act were passed, how would that affect the average person's life in America?
First thing that it would do is it would enable the government to start investing in infrastructure without going into debt. The government would create its own money, spend it in circulation to build the bridges, roads, and repairs. Now, the American Society of Civil Engineers says that we have a $2.2 trillion deficit just in infrastructure repair, and this is not to build anything new. So there's a huge opportunity there for good, high-paying jobs that cannot be exported to some other place. So that's the first thing you'd have, is a pickup in employment, bring the unemployment rate down, and also would be able to extend interest-free money to states on the basis of per capita or on the basis of interest-free loans. So the states would be out of the problems that they're in now, having to lay off people and of course cut back on services like police and fire, teachers. A lot of school districts are closing down. And part of the money would be spent not only on the physical infrastructure, but also on so-called human infrastructure, on education, and on health care.
And the government wouldn't have to borrow the money.
No, the government could create its own money. We would pay off the Treasury securities as they come due. And whenever they all expire, the government would be completely out of debt. This would reduce the need for taxes. But it's not going to eliminate taxes, because you have to understand that in order to keep the economy running and not run up inflation, you put money into the economy and beneficial projects, then you also have to tax it back. And we as citizens have to pay for the services that we get.
So the role of taxation would change. It wouldn't be to fund government services, it would be to balance the amount of money that's out there in the economy.
Taxation for revenue would be obsolete, because the government could create its own money. And then it would become a matter of how much service you want and what you're willing to pay for. Then you can have anything you want, anything that is physically possible and socially acceptable, you can have. And you don't have to go into debt to get it.
It sounds too simple somehow, Bob. It also sounds like it would take a lot of money to fund everything that the state needs, all this education, all this infrastructure.
It will take a lot of money, but again, it's what you're getting for it. Now, right now, what you're getting for your money is pretty poor, because not only do we have a federal debt of, it's now approaching $14 trillion that you're being taxed to pay interest on, but we also have a credit market debt of some $58 trillion. Now, and we're paying the interest on all of that, because that $58 trillion includes government debt, private debt, state and municipal debt, corporate debt. That's basically all the direct debt in the whole system. But you're paying for the interest on the government debt by taxes, for both the federal government and on the local level. Now, on the local level, if you're funding something with bonds, which is a form of debt, generally you're going to pay for about 3 projects to get one, because of the interest and all the fees that accumulate on floating the bonds and so forth. So there's a huge savings to be made there. And then in terms of all the other private debt, you are paying that in prices of everything you buy. So we are supporting this whole debt system, and all of that interest, or basically all of that interest, could be collapsed, and you no longer have to pay it. So you would get more for your money in terms of taxes, and you get more for your money in terms of your purchases.
So not only could we immediately create some more jobs, this would actually affect the average middle-class family in their pocketbook in many ways.
Right away.
Right away.
Right away.
Bob, thanks for spending the time for this interview, and we look forward to seeing you next year.
My pleasure. Thank you.